Remember those times I talked for hours about Assassin's Creed? This ain't one of those, sorry. I promise I will get back to those with the Revelations episode eventually when life, depression, and the ever-crushing weight of aimlessness aren't overtaking me like a franchise-related visual metaphor. What a fun start to the video. I swear, this is comedy. So I've previously looked at crappy superhero ripoffs on the App Store a bunch of times. Take a peek so that my suffering is worth something. Please? Because those were soul-crushing, I've learned my lesson and found a handful of crappy Assassin's Creed ripoffs on the App Store because I actually haven't learned my lesson at all. Ninja Samurai Assassin Hero 2, which does not actually appear to be a sequel to anything, certainly doesn't have the worst first impression I've run into in these videos. Sure, the menu has a layout that could have been better designed by a lazy 8-year-old, but movement isn't so bad, and it offers a tutorial for the archery and stuff, which even includes some fun zoom-in effects, although there is a weird delay between firing and the arrows hitting. It won't really matter since I didn't end up using the archery against any enemies, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Next up is the climbing tutorial, which isn't great. You have to hold a button on the right and the controls are on the left, but you don't always have to hold down the button because it won't work sometimes. I don't really get it. Also, here's the worst leap of faith you will ever see. Health and Gold pickups have these weird cartoony font that feels really out of place, but not more so than a ninja in a medieval castle healing by carb loading a bagel. Other than that, the tutorial really just establishes that combat is a one-button affair and throws us into the first mission. The same environment, but in less atmospheric, broad daylight. I walked out the door and got pretty rapidly jumped by a bunch of dudes with minimal dialogue. Thankfully, the fighting speaks for itself.
Need assistance! Need assistance!
Stairs were surprisingly hard to walk up, and I sort of aimlessly wandered around until I stumbled on all 2 stars I had to pick up to proceed, apparently. Mission 2 had me in this new location, where the crappy climbing led to my death. I tried again and, ah shit, this is just the same castle from a different starting point. I couldn't figure out a safe way off of the roof without dying, and so decided this one didn't have enough to hook me in for any more. Hey, why the fuck do you want Bluetooth access? The memories of Assassin. That is a hard no from me. Anyway, this one has more of a plot. This hunk of a man wakes up in what is labeled as Egypt, year 3500 BC, which to you non-prehistorians would firmly place this in the goddamn early Bronze Age. So someone didn't bother to perform a basic Google search before writing. Mr. Assassin starts his day off right by T-posing before he gets out of bed, and goes out to this nice, bustling little village that has one misplaced dude that looks like Will Turner from Pirates of the Caribbean. Some chick in a house tells me I'm an amnesiac, which apparently I'd forgotten, and that she'll give me my memories back if I complete her missions. Spoiler alert, she must have taken the developer's memories too, because this is never mentioned again. I have to get a sword off of a roof. Mission complete! Which she makes me use to murder a bloodborne-looking motherfucker and his fat, shirtless son. I have to murder the merchant down at the bazaar for a map the last guy was supposed to have, which leads me to murdering a different dude and his 2 fat, shirtless sons, and I'm starting to think I'm the bad guy here. The civilian rampage I went on for no reason after that only backs my theory up. Next up came some tomb raiding, except these little skeleton shits can actually put up a fight, so I ended up running past them in and out. This weird lady says it has taken them hundreds of years to find the key to the pyramid, which is honestly just pathetic considering it was just in a random temple across the street from both the rest of the town and the pyramid itself. The pyramid's visuals are glitchy as fuck and has too many goddamn skeletons, which really came back to bite me in the ass when I tried to run past them straight into the boss chamber. The boss drops a sick sword when he dies, but sadly, leaving the pyramid just spawns back your normal sword. The weird lady is just like, LMFAO, you're out of missions, better wait for the next update, scrub, and doesn't give me my memories back. But a little detective work actually holds the clue to who the main character actually is. Ooh boy, a shitty endless runner. My favorite. Samurai's Creed is just a dude running down a boring, straight road trying not to lose. There's the usual bullshit of picking up coins, power-ups that let you take out enemies, because apparently having a sword and a mace just aren't enough. All that nonsense. What's weird about this one is that apparently this man just runs on gasoline, because if you run out of the energy meter, you just stop. Game over. It's a crappy twist and should have just been the usual die if you hit something mechanic. But honestly, this game isn't worth any more of your time or mine, so I'll just run right past it. Ninja Assassin Crazy Climber X is honestly the most disappointing thing yet, because it looked like it could have been the good kind of crappy ripoff game, but ended up being just the crappy kind of crappy ripoff game. So there's 4 characters in the menu screen. This dude that sometimes cylinders when the camera pans away, the same generic ninja asset the first developer used, some sort of Fallout-looking super mutant, and Spider-Man. I want to play as Spider-Man in an Assassin's Creed game. There's actually 2 modes to this game, 3D and 2D. 3D mode sees you playing as the boring character option in the fuggliest landscape I've seen in one of these games. I tested to see if the water kills you, which it technically doesn't. The fall below the game world, below the water, is what kills you. So you're supposed to climb a tower for whatever reason, and in addition to having worse climbing controls than the first game, stamina is a finite resource. As you get closer to running out, the worst pop-up box I've ever seen offers to give you more stamina for watching an ad. Nobody give Ubisoft any ideas. Naturally, I refuse to do such a thing, and the moment you are out, it's just an instant game over. I tried a few times and couldn't figure out where to go or how to succeed. So no Spider-Man for me. In 3D, at least. 2D mode is, weirdly, entirely a Spider-Man ripoff game. Spider-Man Run. Weird coincidence, considering the next batch of ripoffs I'll be looking at are Spider-Man ripoffs, but I'd rather get this baloney out of the way now and be done with it. So in Spider-Man Run, you play as a static image of the early 2000s Spider-Man, who makes an oof every time he lands, while the actual early 2000s Spider-Man movie theme plays, risking me suffering the dumbest demonetization of my YouTube channel yet. Oh, no, 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 no. I also want to call attention to this image that shows 3 lives, because you die in 1 hit, and I really don't know what's up with that. I tried a couple more times to progress in 3D mode to no avail, and this game had the fucking audacity to ask me if I enjoy this game. Last, but certainly not quality, Ninja Assassin. Now, I learned early on in making these videos to just turn on airplane mode before playing to avoid the ads, but this piece of shit wouldn't even load up until it could connect to the internet. So I had to sit through so many viewings of the most goddamn problematic ad where 3 creeps are sexualizing a woman at a gym before she gets violently eaten by zombies. I made this sacrifice for you, loyal viewers. Oh, for fuck's sake. Anyway, this game is definitely the closest of the bunch to being a real game. There's different levels, there's some semblance of a plot, there's even the option to go in stealthy-like. Basically, this game is actually trying hard enough I can judge it on the merits of a normal game. And it still sucks. So, to start, you have to pick from one of 3 Mortal Kombat rejects. I picked the woman at first for maximum clickbait potential. The tutorial showcases the stealth and combat, and demonstrates a metric ass-ton of abilities that you can only use if you purchase them, so none of that for me. The archery feels wobbly, and she clearly has horrible form, but I still somehow hit all of the shots I took. The stealth itself is surprisingly functional, although the way it does line of sight indicators just turns entire swaths of levels entirely red. And the 2 stealth takedowns are unnecessarily extra as fuck. Combat, yet again, is pretty much just spamming attack. If you spam attack, you basically don't even get hit. Oh, hi, skeleton model, also used by the Memories of Assassin. Clearly, these ripoff devs all shop at the same shitty model stores. There are 2 other mechanics I'd like to briefly mention. There's a swim mechanic, which is entirely wasted as you use it like twice to swim in a straight line to your destination. There is no risk of drowning. I don't know why they didn't just save their own development time and replace these with like a haul or something. There's also climbing, which only pops up in the final third of the game, can only be done on walls with, bushes, and is the most broken mechanic in the game. You can't drop down when you want to until you hit the exact right place, but then a different location kept dropping me to my death for no apparent reason. Later, I couldn't even finish climbing upwards on this bush as I got stuck part of the way up until I went to the menu and swapped to a different character. Even the ninjas seem to be frustrated with climbing, as one of them straight up says, "More climbing." Yeah, I've been harping on mediocre gameplay for a while. I should harp on mediocre story instead now. See, I didn't think this game would have much story for the first portion. The ninjas make mention of an evil king and steal his gold from a tree for some reason, but he doesn't appear until Chapter 2. Piece of advice, this game's developer. I almost gave up on this game after Chapter 1 because I didn't have a hook to keep me going, but once I saw this dude, I at least had enough of a hook to drag myself through it. Establish the bad guy at the start, and you'll be doing a little bit better. The evil king gets on a boat, which you apparently swim across the sea after. You have to take down his lieutenants, a badass dude and a lame dude, to get to him. At one point, the ninja had this to say in some rather broken English: "If I fell down, I will be a dead." Which I very inexplicably really want to have on a t-shirt now. I don't know why. Link in the description. The final boss is against a motherfucking dragon, which, to be fair, is probably just going to happen in the real Assassin's Creed series at the rate that thing is going. And then the king is killed in an admittedly awesome point of view shot. So I'll give credit. Fighting a dragon, this death scene, A+ ending for a D- game. In what has to be a first for this video series, I can actually end this on a semi-positive note. These crappy Assassin's Creed games were not as soul-crushingly crappy as the previous videos. This is not high praise, but at least it's not Wonder Lady. Since I beat a couple of these fully, I will post the full gameplay here on my channel if anyone's curious and wants to check them out, like I did with the weird Flash game last time. So feel free to head on over there if you hate quality gameplay footage. Liking and subscribing would mean a lot to me, as I've recently just felt tired and unmotivated from grinding the 9 to 5 plus a 40-minute drive each way. And it's felt like my channel has really just been treading water for a while instead of gaining traction or momentum, so your support will go a long way for me on a personal level. I've got plenty of weird content here on Baneshake for all your browsing needs, assuming your browsing needs are the hyper-specific and yet random assortment that Baneshake has to offer. Until next time, stay safe out there. Or not. Whatever. You do you. Shirt in the description down below.